We got to spend the day with the fans, people that love it as much as we do. And we also get the pleasure of showing them what we've been working on. It's just been a treat. It's been a lot, but it's been fantastic.
They are the ancestors, and I think that even though physically they might share similarities, the biggest difference lies in their circumstance. So, the hobbits have the Shire and they have that as their home, and whereas the harfoots are very much still finding that and finding that one sense of place. They're very resilient and stoic, and they have a lot of heart, and they're true survivors.
One of the great differences between them is that hobbits unconsciously live in their abundance. And nothing is taken for granted by the harfoots. We're trying to keep that flame of hope and heart and the delicacies of the heart. We're trying to keep that flame alive, but we're doing it day after day under incredible duress and very difficult circumstances, as Mark Ellis says. So we're similar in terms of the essence of us is what we live and fight for. The difference is we're fighting every day for it, whereas the hobbits are languishing in it and lavishing in it.
Do you mean the moral ambiguity that Tolkien wrote and is one of his themes? Yes, indeed we do, because what you find at the island kingdom of Numenor, at the point that we see its sort of peak of civilization, and it's this combination of the Roman Empire, Greek, Byzantium, and it's teetering, it's slightly teetering. There's the beginning of a schism in society between those who seek immortality, they're called the King's Men, and they're much more nationalist and much more pro-Numenor, and the faithful, who have much more of an elvish heart and background, who are trying to protect what is elven. And so, I mean, in my case, playing Elendil, that's reflected in my family dynamic with the children. There's a slight divide too in there. So, the moral ambiguity is a battle between head and heart, all things Tolkien, and trying to do what's the right thing, but also feeling where fate might pull you. It's that slow realization that there's a different fate from what you might have intended for your life.
I mean, I've been thinking that there's kind of grey for everybody in the show, though, because there are so many different realms, and everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. Everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story, but these interests they have are conflicting. So certain people inevitably end up in the grey. I think everybody ends up in the grey on the show. When I think about epic storytelling, I think in the past I'd gone, it was sort of black and white, good and evil. Patrick and JD haven't done that with the show. It's very murky sometimes. And while we may know the endpoints for some of these characters, the winding roads we take to get there have been really interesting to follow.
Yeah, in a way, I think, I've described Bronwyn as the poor man's human. She's covered in dirt. The Southlanders are very gritty, and compared to Numenor, they're not obviously as polished, and they've lost so much, meaning their ancestors have chosen dark over light, evil over good, and they're trying to redeem themselves and prove themselves that they can be trusted again. But they're being watched over by elves. Arondir is the elf watching over our people, and she is in a forbidden love with him. But they have a common bond, and that is they both feel like outcasts among their own kind. So that draws them together, and their love for nature. She's a healer, she deals with herbs. He obviously is an elf and he loves nature deeply, so that bonds them. But of course there are massive differences, but it's their commonalities that draw them together. And I think there's a ray of light as to like what could be sort of forgiveness. Otherwise, it's just a relationship between a captor and a captee, essentially occupier and an occupied person.
I found it really interesting because I come from quite a musical background and also a Shakespearean background in a lot of the work that I've done. And JD is such as is Patrick, they're such brilliant minds, but I know JD has such a passion for kind of music and rhythms. And so he kind of described the Dwarven rhythm around kind of the realm of the iambic pentameter. So you have that kind of da-dum, 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 and there's kind of a strength of getting to the end of the, that every rhythm of which they speak is just kind of has that gravitas and getting to the end and forcible nature throughout every single word and piece of grammar. So that was a really nice kind of rhythmical dance to play and to become really comfortable with.
Each species has its own sound. Their language has its own sound. The sound, like Bear has composed the theme for the orcs, and some of the instruments that they've used are made of animal bone. Down to the detail of the soundscape, the color scheme, the way we speak, whether or not we speak Elvish, and who we speak it to and why. And because it is a television show, and each episode is its kind of own film, you can be fully immersed in each world so that your journey is that much more pleasant.
My character Halbrand, his rhythms of speech, I think were also informed by what I developed with Leith McPherson, who I can't speak highly enough of. She was wonderful. It's sort of like, for Hal, it's almost a back-footedness in his speech, and it's slightly slower. But Leith was such an integral part. She was the dialect coach and an amazing linguist. She was a really integral part of helping me develop character from the early foundations, working through influences and developing an accent and developing. It completely informed the whole performance, because your text is, such a massive part of the interpretation.
I'll just say one of the things I adored about playing a Harfoot is so much of the language was derived from the natural environment that we survive on. So I think there was great practicality to our language. There was a great lyricism within it, but it was practical. It was born, we express ourselves based on what we know, which is nature. And the detail and the originality by JD and Patrick it just made our language so specific to us.
You will certainly hear some vocals knocking around in a couple of the worlds, actually. There's some vocals happening and some singing happening, I know, within the Harfoot world. And Disa certainly brings her voice to the table as a means of communication and a expression of her emotions at various points.
Do you do any singing?
Me? No, he just cries.
That's singing.
It's a song.
Yeah, it's a song. He expresses his emotions a lot.
We got to spend the day with the fans, people that love it as much as we do. And we also get the pleasure of showing them what we've been working on. It's just been a treat. It's been a lot, but it's been fantastic.
I was told beforehand that you'll feel the love when you come to San Diego Comic-Con, and I wasn't sure I quite believed that, but that was definitely what that room felt like today. It was an atmosphere, and I've done a lot of theatre back in London, but there was a very different vibe being out in front of that many people, and the feeling that was coming off the floor. It was really exciting.
It's exhilarating. 3 years in the making for us, 2 years of actually filming in New Zealand, and we wrapped last year. So to have this actually be shared with the world is, long time in the making.
I'd been told you couldn't anticipate the sound of 6,000 plus people in Hall H, and they were right. I could feel them through the floor. It was completely surreal. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been such a joy. I've never been to Comic-Con before, and so I had no idea what to expect, but of course you hear so many stories and etc., and of course, because it's been such a long time coming to see anything from the show, we were just so hopeful that we would be welcomed warmly, and it has been over and above anything that I think I can speak for everyone, what we ever expected. It has been wonderful, open arms, the doors are open, and it's all one big community between the fans, old and new, and all of us.